My name is Jonathan. I am a drummer, as you can see here. I am a drummer for the band called The Last Gatsby. We're based out of Salt Lake, and I love drums. So I thought it might be interesting to talk about drum tones. They are the best instrument, of course. Of course, I'm very biased. Drum tones can vary dramatically depending on a couple things. One of them is shell material. Drums can be made of different materials, and that does contribute to the sound, obviously. Also, the stroke and the technique by which the drums are played can actually make a difference as well. And then the size of the drums. And I don't necessarily mean like really, really big or super, super tiny, but kind of more how the drums are shaped. So in regards to shell material, there's three common forms of drum material. If there's any others, I haven't found them yet. The very first one is wood. Most drums are made of wood. There's also acrylic drums made out of fiberglass plastic and metal drums. Wood drums are, like I said, the most common. They usually come in maple and birch. There are a lot of drums, though, that come in different exotic woods, like bubinga or cocobolo, or African mahogany. There's so many different ones, and it's really interesting how each one contributes to sound. One tool that is used to determine how a drum will sound, and also just the hardness of wood in general, is the Jenka hardness scale. Usually, not usually, always, the harder drums will have more power, volume, and more control, and the softer woods will have more of a brighter tone. They'll be a little bit more vibrant. Most drums, however, are based out of plies. Now, if you look at the illustration here, the plies are basically rings of drums that are glued together and then squeezed together and compressed. Usually 8 plies and under is more of a bright tone, but 10 plies or more, so 10 different rings, gives more of a warm tone. There's also what are called stave drums. Stave drums are cut directly out of the wood and then put together almost like a barrel, almost the same way a barrel's formed. Drums also come in acrylics, different fiberglass and plastic combinations that make really cool transparent drums. As far as sound is concerned, though, because plastic is a little less dense, you have more of a bright, vibrant sound. Metals, however, give a very high-powered, controlled sound. It's really, really twangy because they're so dense. However, even metal density differs between copper, titanium, aluminum, and brass, which most metal drums are made out of. As mentioned before, the stroke and the technique by which you play drums contributes to the sound as well. For example, where you hit the drum, your stroke location, whether it's on the rim or the center of the drum. If you hit it on the rim, it may be a little bit louder and more of a twang because there's metal involved. Or it may be if you hit it right in the center, it will be a direct, loud, clean sound. And as I mentioned before, in fact, if you want to look at the image here, this is how you would normally hit a drum head, not a cymbal. Actually, the way he's hitting the cymbal is purely for artistic effect. You should be hitting it at an angle. But when you're hitting a drum head, you do want to be hitting directly on it. And when you hit it, it's in your wrists and fingers and not in your arms, unlike the image above, or to here. Another thing that contributes is size of the drums. And I don't mean necessarily how big or small it is. I mean in how it's proportioned. So if you have a drum that's longer, you're going to have a very controlled sound. It's going to be very punchy. It is going to be a little bit quieter, though. When you have a shallow drum, so a bigger diameter and a really shallow length, you're going to have a really fat, punchy, deep tone. In conclusion, you're not going to be like this guy. Luke Holland is one of the best in the business, but he has impeccable technique. He hits drums well, and ultimately, as is with most cases, you are what makes the drums sound good. If you don't know how to hit them or play them, then yeah, they're going to sound like garbage. But as far as how the drum tone is concerned, shell material, the size, the stroke, all that contributes to how well a drum sounds. So if you have questions or anything else, I invite you to ask me. You can just post your comments in the discussion board.